Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing restaurants, specifically restaurant customers here in Thailand, and vaccination. And a recent article from the Bangkok Post, that's bangkokpost.com, article was titled, "No Jabs Needed for Dining In." Quoting directly, people in dark red zones will not need to be fully vaccinated and or pass a COVID-19 test to dine in at eateries and restaurants in dark red zones, according to the latest announcement in the Royal Gazette. Quoting further, the news was published in the Royal Gazette on Saturday, along with the easing of other COVID-19 curbs, which were endorsed by the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration. So, a couple of things here. The reason I've been kind of slow on the uptake with doing a video on this topic, there's been a lot of talk about this, the easing of the lockdown restrictions going into September here. And the reason I haven't said anything is when I first saw anything about this, we were looking through, staff and I were looking through everything starts off in the Thai press, obviously, and we were looking through the Thai press, and we saw this, and I didn't see anything about vaccination being required for customers. There wasn't anything I could ascertain from that. Yet the Bangkok Post, which is usually one of the first to, in the English language, go ahead and start talking about what's going on, sometimes in the Thai press, or just sometimes they find out things sometimes even before, right at the same time as the Thai press. That neither here nor there. They were saying in prior postings that I had read from Bangkok Post that, oh yeah, customers are going to need to be vaccinated. I hadn't seen anything like that, so we waited until, to get some better clarification, and it did come in the form of the Royal Gazette this past Saturday, and I wanted to go ahead and quote it from the Bangkok Post, because when I first saw it, Bangkok Post said something different. So I went ahead and quoted them mentioning the Royal Gazette publication as stating that customers did not need to be vaccinated when dining in restaurants. I'm sure that will come as a great comfort to restaurant owners here in Thailand who have really, to say struggle would be a massive understatement. Folks that are in the food and beverage business, truly I'm sympathetic. This has been a tough road to hoe, especially since April of 2021. And frankly, it hasn't been great since last April, since April 2020. But at least up until April 2021, there was some leeway. And then April 2021, we had the non-lockdown, which was supposedly not a lockdown, but they did the alcohol ban, which that has its own set of problems, and I've discussed that at length in other videos on this channel. But then on top of that, they just shut everybody down entirely, and it has been tough for those folks. So I'm certainly happy to see that this is changing now. As we've noted in other videos we made contemporaneously with this one, the restaurants aren't necessarily out of the woods yet. And hopefully, as September progresses, we will see a lot of these restrictions get toned down and eased back. Because quite frankly, as we've noted in other videos, there needs to be a cost benefit associated with this. And the economy here really, has had serious problems, and hopefully we can get this turned around sooner rather than later. And people don't, I think it's rather interesting that people have overlooked the restaurant industry. They've just sort of, I don't know, it's easy to not think of how much of the economy is associated with dine-in restaurants. And even for that matter, bars. People don't really think of bars as being a major economic engine. And yes, individually perhaps not. But when you really think about it in the sort of brick and mortar world, and there is still a brick and mortar world, not everything is done online, but in the brick and mortar world, restaurants and even bars, they employ a lot of people. And it's a big deal. That those folks, a lot of folks are employed by these kind of places, and we have seen the devastation that comes when they're sort of overlooked and when they're shut down. And we've seen that since April of 2021, and hopefully we are now seeing the end of this and we can start looking at reopening Thailand to food and beverage business in the near future.